This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting held at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to natalie.singer@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment section as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to natalie.singer@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 10:10 a.m. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Trustee Gavin, in the absence of Secretary Triplett and Ms. Singer, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bowens,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, Treasurer Bradley, Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Doyle,
Present.
Trustee Gavin, present. Madam President, you have a quorum.
All right, so a quorum has been established. Just want to make sure that I notated that the meeting started at 10:10 p.m. Up next, we have approval of the agenda. The only item of business for today is our superintendent search update with HYA, as well as which includes presentation of our candidates for superintendent. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Is there a second or support?
I second.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Doyle. Any questions, comments, or concern? Hearing none. Trustee Gavin?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin, yes.
All right, up next, we have a review of our board norms. The Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intent. Next up, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone here that would like to make a comment on an agenda item? All right, let the record show that the Treasurer Bradley is present as of 10:13 p.m. There's no public comment. We'll proceed with the agenda. Reminder protocol, as of 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. We would like to welcome as our only item of business today. HYA will be providing an update regarding the superintendent search, and most excitingly, they're going to be presenting our candidates for our search. So you have the floor.
To work with the board on behalf of the students here in the Benton Harbor area. So thank you so much for having us, and without further ado, we will get started. I want to introduce Bond. Bond worked with me along with Ken Arch, so the 3 of us are doing the search for Benton Harbor. So we've had an opportunity to meet all of the applicants for the position, as well as have extensive conversation and talk to others about the candidates, et cetera. And so we're excited about what we're going to share with you today. We also want to spend some time talking about, we're going to do everything in open session. Michigan is very strict about what can and cannot be talked about in closed session. So therefore, in order to be sure that we maintain transparency and integrity, that all of our conversations will be here in open session. So thank you for, that adjustment to the agenda. as we're moving forward, and so we really appreciate that, and I think we'll all be happy as we go, going through that.
Yeah, we need the light.
Okay, so is mic on, can you hear me?
Okay, I think you can hear me now. Very good. Okay. The interview procedures, you have that in your board portal. And it's really important that you know what the procedures are so that we don't violate anyone's rights or we don't ask questions during the interview process that may really be offensive or that is illegal. So you have that in your packet. And if we could move up a little bit, Vaughn, do you have the, oh, they've got it in there. Okay. So if you take a look at just what questions are not acceptable to ask during the interview, and if we stay away from those, then we will be okay. Okay, so we know that we're scheduled to do the first round of interviews on the 14th, and we're scheduled to do the second round of interviews on the 24th. The 24th, that meeting time is 6 p.m. And on the 14th, that meeting time is 10 a.m. And so we're going to really sort of talk about, and we did bring some sample interview questions, which could be taken into consideration by the board. We did our screening interview, so I will let you know that all of the candidates, all 26, have gone through a screening interview with us. And so we had an opportunity to meet all of them. And it was indeed a pleasure. So the information that we're sharing is not based on what we've heard, but based on the interaction we had with them. We have also checked references for the candidates that we are recommending as finalists. And we also have, they were asked to write 2 one-page summaries of information on 2 questions were given to them as to what they believe the answer would be regarding the academic achievement, and then also the social emotional and what they believe needs to be done or what they could do to really help to move Benton Harbor to a higher level. So that took place. Then we also had an opportunity not only to check references, and we'll be sharing information regarding the finalists that we are identifying as to what was said, as well as what references have said about those candidates, and just what we learned about them over the course of the screening interview we did. The screening interview each candidate had was 45 minutes. In most instances, it was done with all 3 of us, with Ken, Vaughn, and myself. In some instances, if one of us was not available, 2 people were involved in the process. But it was a very thorough process. We took extensive notes and to find out how much they knew about Benton Harbor and just how their experiences match up with the profile and what you're looking for as far as your next superintendent is concerned. So we took we also created a scoring rubric. And that scoring rubric is something that you may or may not decide that you want to use, but it really helps you to keep track of your comments and the focus, because we're looking at the leadership profile that you provided, and that's what was put out there for the candidates. And so we expect them to be familiar with that and to be able to respond to that. So we went through that during the screening process. If there are any of the questions that we asked that you want to utilize during your interview process, you can definitely do so. If you really want to get deeper or find out more, we asked during round 1 that all candidates be asked the same questions, because then you can compare apples to apples if we're not asking different questions. With round 2, after we've done some elimination of candidates, you can get more specific. That's not scripted. So you can ask what you would like, what you'd like to know more about. Here again, as long as it's legal, you can ask any question. You can find out more about the candidate, just what they know about the district and what they plan to, what they believe they can do to move the district to a different spot. So that is more of a conversation that will take place on the 24th. So a formal interview on the 14th. The interviews usually, and here again, I need to find out from you, because needless to say, the more candidates you have, the more time you're going to have to spend interviewing. And if you decide to have a 45-minute, a 1 hour, or a 90-minute interview for each candidate, then you know that your day, and we really need to try to get them in on the same day so that we don't hear about anything that's sort of floating out there that somebody was asked. So do you have any idea of, about how long you want round one interviews to be?
Thinking 45 to an hour.
45 to an hour?
How
That would
many,
be,
Madam President, sorry,
Go ahead.
how many would be in round one?
round one, 5.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if you're doing 26, you'd have lost your
No,
mind.
no. We're going to go over, how we looked at the candidates and where they fell as far as, tiers are concerned. But usually, I would say 45, if we could do an hour, that would be great. Keeping in mind, we need probably about 15 minutes between each interview so that we can get the candidate out, get the next one ready, so you can have a quick break before we move on. But if we can start at 10 o'clock, promptly at 10 o'clock, and do an hour for each one, that would be fantastic. And you need to decide whether or not you're going to have any food or anything to eat for the board on that particular day. So that's something you can decide, and I'm sure that Natalie will take care of that. Okay? So we're going to do an hour interview in round one. Now, when we get to round two, that many times, because you have reduced the number of candidates in round two, you spend more time, that's where you're really getting to know the candidates. So if you're able to spend 90 minutes with the candidate, in conversation, in some instances, there's even been like, a meal that the board has with the candidates, so you can get to know them on a casual basis while sharing a meal or whatever. Or you can, decide not to do that. So that's up to you. But that adds to your knowledge of that person and how they interact on a casual basis.
And that would be with all the top 5?
No, that would be after you have narrowed down round two. You've narrowed down from 5 down to usually 2 or 3. Okay. Also, what I had in that second round, and you can let me know if you want to do this or not, is that we have that superintendent search committee, and they were here. They did, a great job when they were here, and they asked, when are we coming back? So this is an opportunity, and what I had set up initially is that the board would be interviewing each candidate in, whether it's in this room, I would probably something less formal with round two, and that the superintendent search committee would be in another room. So let's say Bond would be there with the superintendent search committee as they were asking questions of the candidate, and then we would give them a feedback form, because they don't select the superintendent, but they give feedback to the board regarding the candidates. So we would want them to be able to do that. So we would have feedback forms for them, and we would collect the feedback forms at the end, and then we would share them with the board. Does that sound okay? Okay, so that's what we would do, because I think it's really important, when you invite people in from the community to be a part of this process. And if there's anybody else that you want a part of that superintendent search committee, then you need to let Natalie know, and you need to send invitations to whoever it is you may want to be a part of it. Keep in mind, what I identified was like an hour for that committee to meet with the candidate. So here again, if we get too many people, if there are too many questions, we don't get through everything. And that's more of it's not a formal interview that they're having, but an opportunity for them to get to know. And what I'm asking is that the finalists, that they do a 15-minute presentation to that superintendent search committee. Then after that 15-minute presentation, and if you have a topic that you want them to present on, all of the candidates to present on, we can let them know what that topic is. If not, if you want them to present on a topic of their choice as to what they would do, in some instances, people want to know, what would you do in the first 90 days? I would tell you that's a pretty a question that everybody asked, and so it's not as meaningful, I believe, as it would be if you had something that was specific to the district or the community that you wanted everybody to do. And usually they'll come in and they'll do a PowerPoint for that 15 minutes. They'll take questions from those who are in attendance there at the superintendent's group, roundtable group, and then basically they can just, the roundtable group can just ask questions of the candidate until that hour has passed. What questions do you have about that? Yes.
Thank you. I love the idea of having a feedback form from the search committee. Is this going to be on paper or is it a digital option so that we can kind of see graphic data of their responses?
However you'd like to do it, however you'd like to do it. And keep in mind, we're going to be moving pretty fast. So however you want to do it, we can set it up that way. So it could be digital or it could be on paper. In many instances, it's done on paper. So that if somebody is not as technologically savvy, then they have that opportunity to do it. Because like I said, we do want to collect them and we will hold on to them. We will not leave them with the committee, but we will hold on to those and basically share the information with the board.
Yeah, I'm wondering, through the chair, I'd just like to make the recommendation that we have both options. But if we do have a digital option, especially if they have a rating system, it allows us to see real quickly, where they're standing, on that candidate.
Okay? And we can do that. That's not a problem. So, great. And thank you so much for these ideas because every district does it differently. It's not always the same. So thank you for making that request. So we will do that. Yes.
We may need to double check Michigan standards as it relates to the superintendent search work group kind of interacting with the candidates. I know that's not technically an interview of the Board of Education because it's the work group, but if that interaction with them is going to be contributing to what we use to determine the candidate's status, that may have to be in open session,
And that's fine. That's not a
but
problem.
I'll double check that.
Yeah, that's
piece
not
of it.
because when they met before, it was in
It was in open
It
session,
was
so
in open session.
we'll have to just figure out the timing of that, because initially I was thinking like they would be in a different group than what we would be in, but we
They-
might have to figure out how to work that in.
Okay, and was thinking that they would be in a different group so that, because if we have three, candidates, and I sort of gave you an example on the information you have in your portal, if we have two finalists versus if we have three, just how much time it's going to take to get through interviewing those individuals. So I was thinking in terms, and you let me know if you don't think this will work, that they would be in one room. And I've done this with other, but not in the state of Michigan, but I've done it with other groups where I have escorted the candidate to the room where the committee is. And then the presentation was done and then they got to ask questions, et cetera. And then they gave me the feedback sheets at the end. And then after they finished, then the next candidate was brought in and we were able to get the same type of information.
So back in the day, 2007, it was a superintendent search
Mhm.
and we were all in the cafeteria and the public was there. And each superintendent candidate, like Carol Smith, was on one side of the room talking to people. And then the other candidate, I forgot his name, was on the other side. And it was all going on at the same time. So you could crisscross and ask different questions and it engaged the audience and
That could be done.
okay.
That could be done. Usually, and I think the way the information I sent to you is that you would see the first candidate, they would be seeing the second candidate at the same time that you would be seeing, the candidate, and then, we would switch up so that the board is doing their interview of the candidate while the superintendent search committee is meeting with the other candidate. Yes.
I think with the last search, I think we did something similar to that, or it could have been a little bit different where we had the one candidate in here, just talking with the board and they would go into the cafeteria and they would do that and have them come back and forth, once they were doing that. So I'm familiar with that one.
Yes, so, you just need to let me know what you want to do, and then hopefully you'll let me know before we leave from here today. And now that you've heard what some options are, and then we will, move forward. Yes.
I'm curious, have you ever done it in a way in which the board is able to observe how the candidate is interacting with the public or the search committee?
Usually not, because, just really wanting people to feel comfortable, interacting with the candidate and knowing that the information is going to go to the board. I mean, you're going to get the feedback forms from those who are a part of that group. So, really, now I haven't had the board members in with the, committee. So, it's usually been separate, but, whatever you want to do is fine, but we want people to give honest, feedback, et cetera, and, it will be in writing one way or the other. But we do want them to feel comfortable and that they can, and here again, we don't know how people, what responses or, how people may respond to something that someone else may say or something like that. We want people to feel comfortable and the board will know, but then you have this additional input from the community. And
that's
and
public,
one of the
right?
things you may want to do, and you can decide, we haven't really talked with any administrators in the district. They were not a part of the focus group and for the most part, and I don't know if you want them apart or have a group that is meeting, where maybe the candidate is going from one group with the superintendent's search committee and then going to meet with administration. With this being during the summer, there's probably a lot more availability of the administration and others than what there is during the school year. So let me know. So we'll come back to that. So you can let me know what your thoughts are.
Dr. Coleman,
Yes.
you mentioned that, I think it was round two, you
Mhm.
all have to ask the same questions.
No, round one. Round one,
Okay.
yes.
Are those questions, scripted by you? giving
They
them-
are, we have sample questions
Okay.
that are in the portal, but we ask that each board member ask 2 questions. Now, you can use those questions, you can use some of those questions, or you can create your own questions. Okay, so that's just a sample of some possible questions that you can ask. You don't have to use those, but we would need to know if you were going to look at those, which questions do you want to ask? Usually the board president opens up the session with a greeting to the candidate and has each board member introduce him or herself. Then basically the candidate gets started with the questions that whoever it is going to ask question 1, 2, 3, or whatever, but each board member would be asking questions.
So we as a board could come up with our questions.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Have it out. So we
Yes,
can-
yes. And we
Right.
just want to be sure that those, we have a little time before the next meeting, which is on the 14th. So if there's like a Google Doc or some type of document that you can submit the questions to, so we make sure that 2 people aren't asking the same question. Okay, so that we can have some variety. Also, we're looking at the leadership profile report as really, that's what you said you're looking for. So that should be sort of generating so many times. And what you see is that the sample questions we have are based on that profile report. So this is what you said you wanted. And so we have some questions in there that go along with the profile report. But if you want to veer away from it during this first round, keep in mind, you're just getting to know the candidates. They're just getting to know you. And keep in mind also that this is not only the board interviewing the candidates. The candidates are also interviewing the board. So they're finding out some information about you and getting some direction as to, is this where I want to be? Okay, so just keep that in mind as far as just how we come across. Nothing wrong with the questions, et cetera, but just our body language and how we come across, et cetera, says a lot to a candidate.
Question for you. Do you think Wednesday, the 11th is a good deadline to have each trustee's questions in
Yes.
the doc?
Yes.
Okay, so board, what I'll do, I was getting ready to do it now, but I forgot my screen is sharing. I'll create a Google Doc and share it with everyone, including HYA. If you all could put your 2 questions there by Wednesday, that way we can look them over and ensure we don't have any duplication or that we're not missing an area. Trustee Gavin?
Are we, are we legally allowed to do that, or do we need to just send it to hire and then they do that part?
To legally allowed.
I think
to-
we're legally able to turn in questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
You all just submitted your questions to your president previously, correct, Bradley?
Well, we already, when the last search we did, we already had like a set of questions already made. And I think what we did was each board member, for each candidate, I think we asked one or two questions, and we just did the same question over and over again.
Yes.
I just asked because of, like, it can be seen as like a collaboration. So like if we just,
You all can just send it to, just send two questions each to me and Dr. Collins. Is that what you're
Okay,
saying? So it doesn't
yeah,
look like we're having
so
a
it's-
meeting electronically?
Right.
That's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, great, great, fantastic. And then the rubric will be set up where there are levels of how well the person answers the question. So, and it usually goes from like a 5 to a 1 or something, and where you can sort of circle whether or not you think the person did a great job, and you can take notes on it also. Okay. So we've talked about the superintendent search committee, because that was one of the things I wanted to know. What did you see as the role of the superintendent search committee? I think we have sort of identified that. And not only do we want the superintendent search committee, but also open the door to administration so that they can, if they're going to be two groups that are meeting side by side, it would be the administration and then the superintendent search committee, because I don't think I met any of the principals when I was here before. So none of them were in any of the meetings, the focus group meetings that we held. So I think it's really important that they're looking at somebody who's going to be working with them, that they are able to provide some feedback also. Okay, thank you. Any other questions regarding any of that? Okay, so we've determined that we'll do an hour for the first round of interviews, and then we'll do an hour and a half for round two. Okay?
And round two will have how many people you're thinking?
Well, that all depends, the board determines that, because, I'm suggesting 5 that we start with in round 1. And then as you eliminate and go down, then do you go down to only 1 candidate? Do you go down to 2, or do you go down to 3? It shouldn't be more than 3. And just, like I said, keep in mind, the more candidates there are for either of the rounds, whether it's round 1 or round 2, the longer it's going to take you. And we are nearing the end. I mean, June will be over before we know it. So therefore, we have got to get this work done. So ask that you take that into consideration, and not saying that you should shortchange yourselves, but you should know the time commitment that will be involved. Okay? President Robinson, did you have a question? Okay, then.
I was thinking 2 to 3.
Yes,
Okay.
2 to 3. That's very common. Definitely. And even if there's only one that rises to the top and not 2 or 3, then basically that's what you go with. Keep in mind, we talked about the in-depth not the search, but taking a look at background check. And that is $1,900 for the comprehensive background check. You want to do, and I don't know any district that really doesn't do the comprehensive background check, because you want to dig as deep as you possibly can. Now, we've talked to some references, et cetera, but it's nothing like what a professional company can do in really finding out as far as records are concerned or anything else, and getting to the depth of that person. So I just want you to be aware of that.
We don't need to do that until like we're down to 5 or 3 candidates.
Yes, even if you only want to do it, if 2 rise to the top and you just want to do it on those 2, or if 1 rises to the top and you only want to do it on that 1, then that's when you do it.
So do they go, Madam President,
You have the floor.
do they go through an extensive background check? Do they go through a background check when they apply to see if they're even certified or legit to work in the state of Michigan?
Go ahead, Vaughn.
Sure.
Catch it on the night.
There are questions that are prompted at the end, and questions such as, do you have a offense, do you have a criminal record? So if somebody puts yes or no, we just take it for face value, right? And then there are other components in there that says, do you have a credential that's recognized by the state of XYZ? And if not, do you qualify for the state of Michigan?
Yes.
And so all of that is part of the online application. And those are just initial responses and initial feedback. And so we then dig deeper to ensure that.
Your license is not suspended or anything?
So I have a question for you. The deep dive that you're referencing, is that done immediately after first round interviews or after second round?
Second round.
Okay.
And what happens there is that it usually takes 7 to 10 days to get that information back. So that's where, time is of the essence as we're moving forward. Hopefully it's less time than that, but it can be up to 7 to 10 days to get that information back. Yes.
To the chair.
You have the floor.
I just want to follow up. We are on, they're in Zoom, right? The public is able to view this. Okay, so I'm thinking, I don't know if the sound wise, if they're able to hear when our speakers are not on the microphone. So
Oh.
I think that's important. The
Okay.
other thing is, Michigan has a database that makes it public to search to see the credential. I feel like it's important to know, for us to know upfront if they have whatever their credential is. It's just a quick search of their name, and then it tells what their latest certification is. I feel like it's important for us to know on the front end.
And so is that just for people who are working in the state of Michigan, or is that a nationwide database?
I would say at least for the state of Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan.
So I would
Yes,
say at least
yes.
for the applicants in Michigan, we're able to see.
Yes, because not all the applicants are coming from Michigan.
I
So I
respect
mean,
that.
we're doing a national search. So not all the applicants are from Michigan, but if there is something, and I assume that the school district is a member or can easily, that would be released to the school district or whatever.
It's public and it's free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
Okay, then
public free
definitely, yes,
database.
we can definitely, check into that. Definitely. Yes.
So I don't want to sound like I'm jumping down the rabbit hole or going down a detour. So you have 26 clients that apply through HYA, correct?
Yes.
Does that include I'm saying appliances. Does that include applicants that apply directly through Benton Harbor area schools?
Yes.
Yeah,
The-
so the way that we did it was on the Benton Harbor Area Schools employment page. The only way that you could apply for superintendent was to go through their portal.
And even with the Michigan, I think we did it on 2 other websites, correct?
All websites that we posted,
Okay.
it
Everything came to
directs you
us.
directly to
Okay.
them.
That's how we
And
got to
when, yeah,
26.
and when you get to the Benton Harbor Area Schools page, it has all of the positions posted, but I had her specifically, like it designates superintendent. And then you click that and it takes you directly to HYA. So that we wouldn't miss, if anyone didn't notice the superintendent search thing and they just came to see what we're hiring for, there was a link there to take them directly to HYA.
Okay, thank you.
And I would also suggest, I've had a couple of candidates say that on your website, it doesn't say when the interviews are scheduled, so that those dates of the 14th and the 24th need to be on the website. Because I have been getting telephone calls saying, okay, what are the next steps? What's going on, et cetera. So let's be sure that we have that information since we decided on those dates that we have it on the website.
So we'll be getting the full timeline updated now that we've met.
Yes.
Ms. Booth, has actually emailed me on that.
Okay.
And we've also had media inquiries that I've yet to respond to because I wanted us to all meet here and fully
Definitely.
flesh out exactly.
Okay, so.
So
it
we'll get
sounds-
that updated.
Thank you. So 10 o'clock on the 14th and then 6 PM on the 24th.
And just an FYI to the board, we agreed that the 14th would be the day that we would do training as well. So we'll actually be meeting probably around 8 to try to squeeze in that first training. It depends on how long it is. And then we'll go into the superintendent search information at 10. It'll be here.
Okay, we ready? Okay, let's talk about the applicants. And I'm going to have Vaughn come up and share the overview, and then we will move on after that.
President Robinson and the Board of Trustees. This was extremely exciting for us. You know, we either had a chance to speak with, I know that we had a chance to speak with trustees. I was not at every single interview meeting, but what we realized was that when we created the posting and created the profile, it's really based on the conversations that we had with you all. In addition to the learning profile, or excuse me, the superintendent profile that was created. And so we did a little, there wasn't too much to adapt in terms of what was existing. However, we had language to be able to really think about what are the requirements, what are the specific skill sets that we were looking for, because there are really opportunities in Benton Harbor that that really, when we look at candidates, we wanted to ensure that they either had that specific experience and or were part of a cabinet. For example, we looked at conversations around declining enrollment. We looked at conversations with the proficiency gaps in reading, writing, and math to ensure that there's some type of background. And so when we started looking at applicants, we wanted to ensure that they had experience serving as in the site leadership role, as well as playing a role at the district office, so that there's a comprehensive understanding. And so when we did, when we opened up the search, for the board, in your portal, you have all of the 26 candidates that were submitted. There were more candidates that were submitted. However, it was after the due date or there were some withdrawals. And so we did not include that for the board. What we did have for the board are 26 candidates. Of the 26, we had 3 that were either sitting or the previous roles were superintendents. We had 9 that were either deputy superintendents, associate superintendents, or assistant superintendents. We had 9 that were directors and or principals. And then we had 5 that were either professors, executives, or specialists. And also in that pool of candidates, we had 17 that were either PhD candidates and or EDD candidates, 2 MDS candidates, and 7 masters in arts or masters of science. And then you all drew from very different states. We had 10 states that are represented: Alabama, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, Maryland, New York, Texas, and Washington. And so if you do see a candidate that is not part of the Michigan, Trustee Gavin, as you mentioned, folks that have credentials in their home state, we did do a little research in terms of reciprocity within Michigan. And there are specific components that if you do have a credential in another state, it's a lot easier to obtain that in Michigan. If the candidate does not have 100%, that is reciprocity, their Michigan grants temporary, so that the candidates can then fulfill that within there's a time commitment to that. So of those candidates, for the board, we have identified those candidates through a numeric system. It's alphabetically system. So in your board portal, you will see candidate names, and they are listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 26. We will address the candidates as we present tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 today. And their identifiers will be identified by the candidate number and not the candidate name. And so I invite Dr. Collins to present the Tier 1 candidates. We have 5 slated candidates for Tier 1.
And the way candidates were identified by tier had to do with, as I indicated, we did a screening interview with each candidate. So how did they answer the questions? And, so how was their communication? How was the accuracy of their information? Has their experience really placed them in a position where they would be a good fit for the district based on that? We also talked to references to hear what they had to say about the candidate, and we also looked at what their work experience has been. So have they had the experience where they could come here and with the support of the board and the community, get the work done to move the children to the highest level possible? So those are all the areas that we looked at. And then, they were each asked to write 2 letters. And so we looked at that information, and so we were able to gather a lot of information to decide where do these 26 candidates fit. As Vaughn indicated, we're not giving names. If you identify 5 by the end of this meeting, then their names will be public. But until that, the board has identified 5 names, then we will only talk about, the qualifications and what the 5 are bringing to the table. The first person is number 4. Okay, who's in your book? Yes.
Where are we looking to see, to match the name and the number?
Yeah, you have your
I'm
board
in the
portal?
portal. I see names. I don't see the numbers. So I'm just wondering where.
It's under select.
Under select. Okay, I'm looking under recruit.
Let's wait until everybody finds that.
Which,
Do you see it?
he said it's under select, and then which option?
So to the public, we're gonna take a brief, probably 5-minute recess. So that because we're kind of moving all around and everywhere. We're gonna take a brief recess so we can allow all of our trustees to get connected to the portal. And then also when we come back, I'm no longer gonna be sharing the agenda so that I can also take a look at the portal as well. So we're taking a brief recess as of 10:52. We should be back in 5 minutes, absolutely no later than 11 a.m. All right, so we are returning back to session as of 11 a.m. Just so the board is aware, you're gonna go to the select section to look at the actual applicants that they're getting ready to review, and then the recruit section has all of their individual resumes if you'd like to look at them as she's touching based on them. So you have the floor, Dr. Collins.
So, first candidate, into one is applicant number 4. And as, we were told that no names will be shared, nor school districts will be shared. Basically, information regarding experience and this on.
Okay. So regarding experience and just what the person is bringing to the table and what their references says. So with candidate number 4, that person is currently a deputy superintendent of schools. The person has an ed specialist degree, a general administration, a master's in general administration, and an elementary ed BS. The person has extensive site and central office experience, is knowledgeable with large budgets, instructional leadership, and best operating practices, served as a professional development facilitator. Key qualifications: directed strategic budgeting and resource allocation, led district level budgeting, financial planning and resource allocation, ensuring fiscal responsibility while aligning investments with school and district improvement priorities for maximum impact. This individual modernized the district school improvement planning process, revised and aligned the district school improvement process with his state's Board of Education accountability framework, specifically integrating the 5 Essentials Survey, which is a survey, you do a similar one here within the state of Michigan where parents and staff, et cetera, give feedback on the schools and how the kids are doing. And that drove data-informed planning and outcomes. This individual supervised and evaluated building level leadership with full completion, oversaw the evaluation and performance management of 14 principals across elementary, junior high, and high schools, achieving a 100% completion rate while ensuring alignment with district goals and a culture of continuous improvement. This individual designed and led a comprehensive leadership development program, developed and implemented a district-wide leadership development initiative, received a 100% satisfaction rating from participants, and contributing to stronger instructional leadership across all school levels. This person acquired the first deputy superintendent role in the history of his district, strengthening district leadership capacity and succession planning. Served on contract negotiations team and employment history. This person has served as a deputy superintendent, assistant superintendent of diversity, equity, and inclusion, assistant superintendent of teaching and learning, a network operations manager, which in the district he was in, that means over a large number of schools within that city. Also chief of schools, which is who the principals report to in this particular district, and high school assistant principal and a teacher, pre-K through 8 teacher. The person has 5 years of central office administration experience, 9 years of principal experience, 5 years assistant principal, 4 years classroom teacher. What did references say about this individual? They said this person is organized, uses data sets to drive decision-making, as a citizen's thinker, has the ability to build positive relationships with family and students, strong, driven, kid-centered, always wants what's best for kids, always students first. Relates well and fights for communities of poverty. Presentation skills are top notch. In the beginning, the person was quiet and introvertish is the term they use, but opens up slowly. But then full, fun, great sense of humor, personable, trusting. Has an instructional leadership style, created PLCs, which are learning communities, relational, supports, collaborates with schools, hands-on, in schools often. So that's what the references had to say about this particular candidate. So without further ado, we'll move on to the next candidate. Do I have the next one? Okay, well, Mike, come up and share. So that was the first candidate that we are recommending as a part of the individuals, one of the 5.
That was number 4, correct?
The next candidate we are recommending for tier 1 for the board is candidate number 7. Candidate number 7 currently serves as a regional director for an educational firm. The educational firm is specializes in special education services. The candidate has a Doctor of Ed and Superintendent Leadership, a Master of Science in Educational Leadership, Master of Arts in Elementary Education, Master of Science in Human Services Administration. Thank you. And a Bachelor of Arts in Media Communications. Candidate number 7 has central office experience as well as knowledgeable in leading site principals and certainly understands effective communication strategies. Some key qualifications as to why we have identified this candidate: has served as central office administrator overseeing principals across multiple school sites, providing instructional leadership and management, collaboration with special education department to ensure compliance with state and federal regulations while maintaining a student-centered approach to services, developed
project management frameworks for a cross-functional team to improve operational efficiencies, implementation, consulting methodology for curriculum, evaluation, programming effectiveness. This candidate also has led district initiatives focusing on DEI that reduce achievement gaps by 7% across schools and high minority enrollment, and established a student advisory committee that provided direct input on budget allocation and program development decisions, created a district-wide communication strategy that strengthened relationships between schools and the predominantly minority communities. And lastly, develop and implemented data tracking system that monitored student academic and social emotional learning trends, allowing for targeted retention strategies to increase achievement and reduce discipline. When having conversations with this candidate, it was all under the umbrella of MTSS, the multi-tier support systems. In terms of employment history, 2 years central office, 1 year as a director, and 5 years as a site leadership experience. When checking references, the references for candidate 7 spoke to the candidate being unapologetically fights for students, high articulate stellar communication style, clear in goals setting for themselves and for teams, passionate, relational with colleagues, families, and students, and always student first. I noted this in my notes as really high level, but builds up others. That has been their focus, not only for themselves as a leader, but to build others. Always a voice for students and parents. Leaning into that was about ensuring that when decisions are made, there was a vehicle or a mechanism that students' voices were heard or parents' voices were heard. In the classrooms daily to learn about what kids need. This was a direct quote, one of the smartest people I know, but they don't show up that way. They are just one of the smartest people that I know. Data-driven decision-making, implemented reality checks. I've learned that reality checks was the honest, true, crucial conversations about the work of the leadership. And then lastly, a reference item was that the candidate 7 was transformative, collaborative, and understands change management.
The third candidate is applicant number 13. This person is a director of special education. Her academic credentials include leadership in education administration, a PhD in that area, special education, a master's degree, psychology, a bachelor's degree. Central office experience, knowledgeable with student service budgets, special education background, understands restructuring systems. This individual is involved in building the structure to open a newly purchased school, provided special education leadership coaching, consulting, advising supports to districts, school leaders, and teams. Implemented initiatives to improve regulatory compliance in both evaluations and annual reviews during the COVID-19 pandemic. Implemented, increased, and improved diverse learners' access and selective enrollment high schools. What was happening in that particular district, your special needs kids and some other kids were not getting into some of those schools that were selective schools where you had to have certain credentials or whatever in order to be able to get into the school. So this person worked to get these students into those schools. Special education, let's see. Director of Special Services and District, McKinney-Vento liaison, special education teacher, case manager, acting principal, licensing coordinator for Catholic Charities. Comments about what did others have to say about this individual? This person worked 10 years central office, 5 years site experience, building level experience, understands how to navigate historical challenges and responds to them. Well-versed in systems and special education practices. Helped turn around a network of schools with special ed compliance. So schools that had not been compliant, helped to turn those around. Very friendly, can be direct, but kind and respectful, not afraid to try something new if the old doesn't work. Her leadership style is mentoring and guidance. Systems thinker, turned around network of schools by building and putting systems in place. So that is candidate number 13.
For the board, our next recommendation for tier 1 is candidate number 14. Candidate number 14 currently serves as the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services and Operations. They have a EDD in Educational Leadership and Technology, an MSA in Educational Leadership, MED in Curriculum Instruction, MED in Educational Leadership, and a bachelor's in English Education. Their background is in the they have central office experience, knowledgeable with best instructional practices and principal coaching, has served on the Equity Steering Committee, shaping inclusive policies and cultural responsive practices within the district. Key qualifications, the candidate 14 has co-led district strategic planning processes, aligning academic goals, operational systems, and equity efforts across all departments, has supervised and evaluated principals using state certified frameworks, launching coaching cycles that improve walkthrough ratings by 30%, redesigned central office service delivery model to streamline workflow and reduce school-based wait times, oversaw middle school climate survey response strategies, resulting in an increase of 18% in student belonging metrics. This was an overall comprehensive survey that was delivered. So that was just a component of the student well-being was a component of that survey process. Increased principal evaluation scores across all supervised campuses through targeted coaching and support, facilitated district-wide professional learning on instructional coherence and school redesign strategies, impacting over 300 leaders, led equity-focused instructional walkthroughs across middle schools, identified actionable trends leading to improved team collaboration and performance, coordinated partnerships with external agencies to deliver trauma-informed training and academic interventions to underperforming schools within the district. In terms of employment history, as I noted, currently serves as Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services and Ops, Instructional Director for middle schools, all the middle schools across the district, Adjunct Professor, faculty member, of Johns Hopkins University of Education, site and assistant principal experience, 3 years overall central office experience, and 10 years principal and assistant principal. References that we received regarding candidate 14, biggest supporter and mentor of the leadership team, rooted in professionalism and facts. When issues are presented, this candidate steps in to support, not only supports, but roll up their sleeves and does the work as well. Understands the importance of structure and working from a framework. Great listener and has many tools in their toolbox. This candidate is first and foremost a teacher for all, not only students and adults, but the people that they supervise. Mentor, provides a lot of guidance. This was very interesting. This candidate makes big things into small, edible bites. Highly organized and structured, understands systems, sees the big picture, goals oriented, able to get in, identify goals, and put theories of actions right away, helps others to reach their goal, This candidate also brings consistency and structure to the current organization. And then lastly, this candidate is extremely relational.
Extremely much.
Relational. Relationships are important.
Thank
And our fifth candidate, and this is number 26. This person is currently Assistant Superintendent of Student Service and Equity, and has been since 2019. And academic credentials, education, certificate in diversity and equity in education, special education, a doctorate in that area, educational administration, a master's, communication disorders, master's also in that area, background information, extensive central office experience, knowledgeable of working with large budgets, special education background, experience with community engagement and implementation of district-wide initiatives. Key qualifications: led the development and implementation of district equity and action plan, led student services, initiative and efforts, decreased chronic truancy and absenteeism rates, alternative placements, address discipline disparities, excuse me, increased district and community partnerships, focused on social, emotional, and mental health supports, partnership initiatives with parents, facilitated adoption of instructional excellence framework and curricular revisions, researched, adopted, and enhanced online curriculum used in alternative programs, developed structure of new district alternative learning building, increased special education teacher capacity using the cohort coaching professional learning model, developed district special ed programming to decrease expenditures by $1 million, enhance special education programs, supports, and services to improve outcomes for students, developed board policies, district processes, and procedures for MTSS, special education, and homebound education. Employment history. As I indicated, Assistant Superintendent of Student Services and Equity. This person has been Executive Director of Student Services and a Principal, Director of Student Services, and also a District Speech Pathologist, speech pathologist at an elementary district, and speech assistant at a different elementary district. Comments. What do people have to say about this individual? First of all, this person has been in central office for 14 years. 8 years served as a speech pathologist. References and performance comments, believes in teamwork, served as others' soundboard. So when people needed someone to go to talk to, she was someone they could go to. Skilled, successfully led through challenging times, instrumental in ensuring all key stakeholder voices are heard. Voice for family and students. Strong leadership skills from district office to the sites. Has a big vision and communicates clearly. Positive, gets the job done, energized, supportive, and task-oriented. Respectful, honest leader. Excellent presenter. Leader of professional development for departments and for leaders. Empathetic, calm, firm, fair, consistent. Ability to hold hard, crucial conversations. Builds relations, knows each person in the district well, and that is through making personal connections. So those are the 5 individuals that we are recommending for the board's consideration. We did have a group of, how many are in tier 2? There are 3 in tier 2, and then in tier 3, $15. So we looked at all of the candidates, and as I said, we looked at what their references said, what we heard during the screening interview we did with them, what their experience has been, what it is that your leadership profile is calling for. And these 5 individuals, based on that information, rose to the top. So we ask that you take into consideration these 5 individuals.
So I have 5 in tier 1, 15 in tier 3. How many were in tier 2?
3. 3.
I'm, Madam President, may I ask a question?
Yep.
I noticed that, and I'm trying to make sure I'm not saying any names, so these are some impressive numbers, impressive, resumes. I noticed that most of them all have doctorates.
Mhm.
And I know that's a good thing in some cases, but in also some situations, you know, doing the same thing over and over can be leading to insanity. What was your, I'm trying to get in your mind frame. What was your guys' thoughts on people that have a master's degree? Did they just not fit that top tier or,
No, the first one I
or did I
mentioned
miss that?
had
I'm
a
sorry.
master's degree.
Okay.
And
Number
really is the
4.
ed specialist, number 4.
Okay.
So, because you have to have an ed
Okay, sorry.
specialist
I
at least
misspoke.
to be a superintendent. So that person had an ed specialist degree. Yes, and there were others here again, but I think you take a look at also the experience that these individuals have had, the work that they have done, and what people had to say about them. So they have been doing this for quite a while, and they have had an impact. And you want to know, do they have an impact, or is it just that, there are a lot of people who have a doctorate and they don't do anything with it. And they just have the doctorate. So that is not an indication as to whether or not somebody is the best at
Mhm.
what they do. So we were looking for the whole enchilada. Who is it who? And really, the doctorate was not what we took into consideration in looking at who were in the top tier. We looked at what is the work that they have done, what's the success that they have had, what do people have to say about them? So what has happened and what do they bring to the table? And it happened to be that in these instances, there were a number of them who have a doctorate.
So do you look at the longevity that they've been into those jobs?
In some instances, yes. I look at, in some instances, they may have been in the same district for a number of years, but the
Okay.
job may have changed.
Okay.
In other instances, and I think that somewhere during their experience and time, they have remained. One of the questions we asked them during the screening interview, we said, Benton Harbor wants longevity in its superintendent. So how do you respond to that? And every person that we talked to indicated that, yes, this is something that they're willing to commit to. There were some other individuals who were recommended by, some board members or other community members that either refused an interview. I may have thought that maybe they were going to call me and say, I tried to do a sell job on them, but they decided not to interview and that they didn't want to leave where they are at this time. In some instances, because their children are just entering high school or other things are going on. So for personal family reasons, et cetera. So, we have to take a look at all of those pieces to see why somebody may not want to come, but they were asked the question. And because if they had said that they just wanted to be here today and gone tomorrow, we would not have brought them forward. But none of these individuals said that. They are saying that they want to be committed to Benton Harbor. They want to be here in the area. They want to really be a part of, as you talked about, wanting someone who was a turnaround superintendent. They wanted to be a part of that. Yes.
Thank you. This is a very impressive list. And I would say it kills the narrative that nobody wants to come here, right?
Yeah.
It
You're
just
right.
kills it right
Yeah.
where it stands. My question was about applicant 26, and maybe there was another one. How much, and I may have missed it, how much did they indicate how many years of classroom experience they had? Because I saw speech pathology, but I'm
One.
not sure if that's
Which number was that?
traditional classroom experience.
It's not traditional classroom experience. My background is in speech pathology, but I was also a classroom teacher and I
Right.
had special ed students in the classroom that I worked with because of my background. So in fact, I had a classroom of language delayed students through the special ed department. So I can't tell you exactly how many years she may have done some of that, but I wouldn't write someone off if they haven't been in the classroom as long as some others. I think they can relate. They have supervised and they have also supervised building level administrators and have been successful in the work that they're doing. I mean, the fact that she's been in her district for how many years? At least since 2009. So, and in some instances, and I'll tell you that when I retired, I ended up being in administration longer than I was a teacher. I didn't think that would be the case. I didn't think I'd be in administration at all, but ended up being in administration much longer than being in the classroom. Yes.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
just want clarity on that. So with speech path, because that's not an area that I'm used to, right? So I'm just trying to get some clarity. With speech pathology, you're saying they have a classroom of students that they're teaching, or are they working more one-on-one?
They can have a classroom of students that they're teaching. They can push into classrooms and work and partner with classroom teachers, or they could be pulling kids out and working in small groups or one-on-one. So there are different ways that can play out.
Okay, so we're gonna need I would like to get some clarity on that, because it definitely, is important to me to just kind of know what their framework is. And is that the only one that has more of the non-traditional teaching experience? Did you have was there a question in which they were asked how many years of classroom experience they had?
Well, yes, that's why we shared with you just what they had done as far as their experience is concerned in central office, how many years, and then and with this particular person, 8 years as a speech path, 14 years in central office.
Okay.
Okay, so we did have those conversations about what their job experience had been.
And I'm just wondering for the other four candidates, did I miss it? I know I heard it like with the first one or two that there
Mhm.
was that classroom experience.
Yes.
Do the other ones have traditional classroom experience of the five?
Yes, yes,
Okay, so that's the only one. Okay.
yes.
Thank you
Mhm.
so much.
Okay, so I was listening to candidate 5, but I didn't jot down that person's number.
Oh, that was 26.
The one that she was just asking
Yes.
about. Okay.
Yes.
I'll open for a question from the public. We didn't necessarily. You had a question or a comment? Okay, we would just need to give you the mic, unless you object. We want to make sure anyone virtually can hear you as well.
I just wanted to make a comment as it related to that speech pathologist. And from my experience, just from substituting of the roles they can help in a classroom and or individually, because they are more or less helping push the agendas of the teachers, and they also bring their own separate knowledge, especially where there are students that have special needs. So I don't want to think that we would discount any of them for their expertise, because they do play critical roles within the school. I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay, and then I have a question for you, and I completely just want to make sure I have my numbers correct. So the 5 in tier 1, the 3 in tier 2, and then the 15 in tier 3 is a total of 23. And I think I heard you say 2 were late. Because you said 26 and so 2 were after the deadline.
I saw you do your calculations. I did the calculations too. So one actually withdrew because they
Right.
accepted a superintendency.
Okay.
And then the other two were not fully completed. They didn't complete every item in that packet. So there's 3. The other that makes 26.
Okay, gotcha.
We have one who just, last week, I believe.
Yes.
He sent us a letter saying, I'm sorry to inform you that I have to withdraw because I just, he indicated, he sent us, he contacted us by email saying that he regretted to let us know that he had to withdraw because he had just accepted a superintendent position.
Okay, and then I have a question for you. Those individuals that were placed into tier two, would you
Yes.
at all be prepared to present those at minimum, or
We could share information regarding those.
which
They-
numbers they are?
Yes.
Okay.
Share that.
So our tier two candidates, we have slated 3. The first one was candidate number 16. Their background is as a associate chief of academics, a founding partner and chief portfolio officer,
You said that was which number?
number 16.
16,
Mhm.
okay.
And then also chief deputy, deputy chief of schools. The second candidate for tier 2 is candidate number 21. The position that they're in, deputy superintendent, also served as assistant soup of operations and chief human resource officer. And then also assistant superintendent of student services. And then the third candidate for tier 2 is candidate number 22. And they currently serve as a chief strategy officer, served as a principal, and then also as an executive director of human resources. So 16, 21, and 22.
Okay, so 16,
16, 21, and 22.
And then tier one was 4, 7, 13, 14, and 26.
Correct.
Okay.
So.
You have the floor.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to ask a question without exposing any applicant.
No, we don't want to expose any applicant.
Right, and I totally understand that. On 21, the last bullet point. What, the last bullet point on 21?
Okay. Yes.
So is that more like a business model ran school or?
No, no, it's a public school. And here again, different districts use different terminology.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're
yes,
not getting.
to, and it could be because that person is identified as an executive principal, then they may be supervising principal. So maybe rather than as a central office traditional title, that's what they call the person. I know I've been in a position where, even when I was with Grand Rapids Public Schools, I left from there as an area superintendent, but before that, there was a different title that was used. It was at the same level, but a different title. So different districts, different states, et cetera, use different terminology
Okay, I
for
just
the
wanted to
same
make sure.
thing.
Thank you
Yes,
for clarifying
definitely,
that.
yes. Yes.
Public versus profit. And I
Yes.
wanted to
Mhm.
make sure.
Just a quick question on that. If it's not a admissible question, it's cut me. Were there any instances in which the person interviewed as top tier, but they didn't have an interest in the longevity, and so they kind of disqualified themselves?
No, there was, no, we didn't encounter that at all. So, there may have been some people, like I said, we had the one who he just got a superintendency, but they all knew what they were applying for and what they were interested in, and their goal is to be successful and to know that they're going to be able to work with a board and work with a community to have an impact. Their focus is on children, and they want to have a positive impact on children and want to be able to work cohesively with the board and with the community to move the students forward. They believe in the possibilities, and a lot of them have done that type of work where they are or where they have been before. So that's what they're interested in. So nobody said, in fact, a lot of them said, I want this to be the last place that I go. So they said, I want to come to Benton Harbor and really have an impact and be there, have longevity there, and make that my last job.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so I would like to just take unless there's any other questions, I'd like to just take a really quick brief recess to allow the trustees to kind of look over the resumes and applications presented. Once we return, I'll open the floor up to see if there were any applicants by number that you all were interested in that weren't included in the top 5, and we'll kind of go through there. But I do want to give you all an extra few minutes to look over the applicants. So just as a reminder, tier 1 was presented as number 4, 7, 13, 14, and 26. Tier 2 were number 16, 21, and 22. We'll take a recess and we'll come back at about 11. It's 11:37. We'll come back at 11:50.
It's not a lot of time. Should we be looking through
Looking through their resumes and everything. Because at the end of this meeting, we need to let them know who we're inviting back for an interview. And I just want to make sure you all have had, do you need more
Can
time
we
than
have a
that?
little more time?
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's 11:38. Let's come back at 12. Okay, and be prepared we're hoping to take a vote on which candidates to invite back. All right, so we're going to take a brief recess. Okay, we're returning from recess as of 12 o'clock p.m. Where we left off, we were presented the tiers for applicants. As a reminder, there were 26 candidates, of which 2 presented incomplete applications, 1 withdrew. Our top 5 tier 1 candidates were number 4, number 7, number 13, number 14, and number 26. Our tier 2 candidates were number 16, number 21, and number 22. We did give the Board of Education an opportunity to look over the applications presented as well as all of them. And so at this particular time, I'm asking if the board has any objection to the top 5 that was presented. If there is any suggestion that we include an additional application or remove an application, and I'll open the floor. Trustee Bowens.
Madam President, I do like the top 5. However, because it's 26, I do believe we could cut it 10 to 10. So I would like for us to add a numbers, instead of top 5, can we do top 6? 6. After reviewing some of the applicants and some of the impressive resumes, I would like for us to go with the number 5, 5, but I would also like for us to include number 18.
So you would like to present candidate number 18 as a 6th option?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll give the board an opportunity to review who candidate number 18 is.
Madam President, if we're gonna
Come
go,
you.
if we're gonna go with 6 candidates, I think HYA should choose that 6th candidate.
Trustee Gavin.
I'm in support of candidate 18 being included in the 6.
Okay. Trustee Doyle.
I am also in agreement in adding 18 to the 5.
Okay, Trustee, Treasurer Bradley, do you have any feedback?
I'm in agreement with that. That's okay.
Okay, and so I'm also in agreement with allowing candidate number 18. I know Trustee Rocket Martin wanted feedback from HYA.
This is the board's search. So the number of candidates, the amount of time that the board is willing to, I just ask that the board be committed to interviewing 6 candidates. And so it's totally up to the board. So we will do whatever it is that you desire to do. I know that our start time is at 10 o'clock on the 14th, and we're saying an hour for each candidate, and we'll need a break in between each candidate. So that means that we would finish at what time? And then we have to discuss after those 6 candidates are interviewed to see who goes on to the next round. So whatever you want us to do, we will follow through. So it's your search and we're here to facilitate.
All righty. Trustee Gavin, at this, I know you have a roll call sheet that you have, right? Or
I
you kind of
do.
taking notes?
I do have a roll call.
Okay, so one of the things that I did not notate on the agenda was the actual vote to allow for the candidates. So I'm gonna ask that we amend the agenda to allow for the vote for the top 6 candidates as noted, and this is just to allow for that vote. Is there a motion to amend the agenda as noted?
So moved.
Support.
The motion has been made by trustee Doyle and supported by VP Bowens. Any questions, comments, and concerns? This is just for amendment of the agenda. Hearing none, trustee Gavin, can you call the vote?
Yes. President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
No,
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin. Yes.
All right, so at this particular time, the Board of Education is taking a vote to affirm the 6 candidates for Superintendent of Schools for Benton Harbor Area Schools. The noted candidates are the Tier 1 candidates as presented, including an additional added by the Board of Education. Those candidates are candidate number 4, candidate number 7, candidate number 13, candidate number 14, candidate number 26, and candidate number 18. Is there a motion to approve the 6 candidates noted for interview for Superintendent of Schools for Benton Harbor Area Schools?
Madam President,
You-
I
you-
make a motion that we approve the top 6 candidates for,
All right, is there a second or support?
I second.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by trustee Doyle. I'll now open the floor up for any questions, comments, or concerns.
Quick question, President Robinson.
You have the floor.
Who made the motion to amend the agenda and who seconded, please?
The motion to amend the agenda was Doyle. The second was Vice President Bowens.
Thank you.
And then for the actual motion for the 6 to be interviewed were Vice President Bowens, supported by Doyle. And then we have a,
Just confused me. I had that one.
okay,
The motion to amend the agenda was Doyle and it was second by who?
Bowens.
Bowens, okay, thank you.
And you had all yeses except for Rocket Martin. She was a no.
Thank you so much.
And Rocket Martin, you're holding for questions or comments?
Madam President, we hired the firm HYA to do our search for us. The candidates that they have brought before us are the candidates that rose to the top. And I think it would be a disservice to them and to our district if we choose a candidate who was not in their scope of 5. That is why I said the 6th candidate, I believe they should also choose that candidate.
Madam President.
Vice President Bowens.
You know, I understand what my colleague is stating, but I also remember in 2008, when it was the Democratic nominating process, and the top candidate was considered to be Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. People wrote off President Barack Obama. I believe that HYA is the search firm, but we are empowered because they're here as a third party. They're getting the candidates. We are the ones that work with the candidates. I mean, would be working with the superintendent. We are the one that would be working with them to set the vision. I don't think it's anything wrong for us to include a person that we believe is qualified. I want us to remember that, yes, we're paying them, but we also have the authority to add what that is. And I think this is fair. It is showing that a majority of the board also agrees, and it's pushing us to being equitable and providing a win-win for the district and public. Trustee Gavin is great.
So I'm not gonna give the public an opportunity to add input to this
I think-
conversation. Trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. I'm in agreement with Vice President Bowens. We have a responsibility as a board to represent our community and to add input where it's needed. And I think that this is a great opportunity to expand the pool in a way that is representative of our understanding of what our community needs. And I also love the fact that we have a superintendent search committee. So it's not totally on us. They have an opportunity to review the candidates. The public will have an opportunity to review the candidates. And if they see from the six who rises to the top, then it's not just us making the decision. It's a democratic opportunity for them to be included in the decision as well. And so I'm very excited about the five that were recommended. I'm very pleased that we choose this organization to vet. And I also appreciate the fact that we were also able to see all of the applicants and that there's a strong majority of the board who wants to see, what this, how this sixth candidate vies in conjunction with the five that was brought before us. So I'm excited about what's possible. I think this is a much better process than the last one in which, someone was just chosen. And so this is a better way to go. I feel good about it, and I can't wait to hear what the public has to say about the amazing options before them. I'm very impressed with all of the candidates.
Okay, so to kind of wrap us up, I tend to be the voice of the board in totality, so I do want to acknowledge Trustee Rocket Martin's statements and concerns. I agree, I'm extremely excited about the tier one options that were presented by HYA. I'm also excited about the sixth option or suggestion by Vice President Bowens, because that was actually an application that I was interested in hearing more about as well. And so I do not want it to be at all anticipated that we are putting the added candidate over the five that were recommended by HYA. This is just the sixth option that we would like to hear from, just to open up the pool a little bit. And so I'm excited that the majority of the board was in alignment and agreement on this sixth option. I do think that the Board of Education is committed to providing the time for the sixth. So if there's no other.
Madam President, sorry to interrupt. Is it possible if HYA could give the credentials, or do you not have that prepared for 18?
Not the detail that we provided for the first five.
Okay.
We don't have that. After the board votes, we will name who the six candidates are.
Okay.
I can, hold on one second.
Madam President.
1 second, Trustee Rocket Martin, please. I am just going to see if I can get up. I'm just pulling up her resume really quickly. Okay, so this individual has served as a superintendent of schools for a period of about 4 years. They've also been a former principal. Additionally, they have served as a teacher, which we're all aware of. They were also a director of literacy, a reading specialist, and then they have a period of about 20 years where they served as a teacher as well. They've also served as a professor in literacy studies, and then a STEAM coordinator, which focused on literacy initiatives for a period of 2 years. They also have publications that they've written, a series of honors. They have an EDS in educational leadership, a Master of Arts in Literacy Studies. They've have a reading specialist endorsement, a Bachelor of Science, and then their actual major was sociology with a minor in African American studies. They've taught ELA K through 8, cultural studies 6 through 12, and sociology for 6 through 12. And then they have a series of other areas of excellence that they've noted as well. So, as previously mentioned, this was a candidate that the board was excited to see in the list of options. So at this particular time, I would ask that trustee Gavin call the vote. Again, this is for 6 candidates for interview. Candidate number 4, candidate number 7, number 13, 14, 26, and 18.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can we ask HYA if they can get the same references, get references for this candidate also, that they presented with all of the other candidates that were presented to us? You had references from other people. I would like to also have those references presented for this person also.
We can definitely do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, trustee Gavin.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin, yes.
All right, and so now I'll present the floor to HYA, or if you'd like me to name the list of candidates, it's up to you. I'm not sure what standard. Okay,
Vote passes.
okay.
Okay, so thank you. This has just been such a wonderful process. I really appreciate the way you have responded and just how everything has gone during this meeting. And I just have higher expectations for the next leg of the journey. So thank you so much. You have identified the following individuals to be interviewed on June 14th. The following 6 candidates for superintendent of Benton Harbor area schools will be Jeff Dace, Rena Witten, Stephanie Jones, Simone Griffin, Dallas Lee, and Donald Pearson. So those are the 6 individuals who have been identified by the board to be interviewed on the 14th of June.
Okay, and can you repeat those names again? Because I'm sure I'll get an inquiry
I
from
will
the.
repeat those names
the
again.
meeting.
They are,
Put your voice on.
okay. My outdoor voice. Jeff Dace, Rena Witten, Stephanie Jones, Simone Griffin, Dallas Lee, and Donald Pearson. Those are the 6 candidates identified to be interviewed by the board on the 14th of June.
Okay, and so I know that so congratulations to the top 6 candidates. We want to give our thanks to all candidates who applied and considered Benton Harbor area schools and were willing to step up to the challenge in leading our district. We do appreciate every applicant and everything that you had to offer. And so we just want to make sure that we notate our sincere thanks for your interest in serving our district. We do look forward to getting to know the top 6 more and see who rises to the occasion in being included in the next round. I did have a suggestion to the Board of Education. I know that we were considering how to work our group into our interviews. My suggestion would be that we do for that second finalist interview, that we do what do you call it? Like an open reception. That would start maybe at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock. We allow the members of the public who are present for the meeting itself, as well as specially invite the work group and the administrators to come, give them an opportunity to fellowship with the two candidates prior to interview. We do our interviews and then we allow all present to give us feedback in a public manner in front of everyone. Within like a special opportunity after interviews. Are you all comfortable with that? That way we get that feedback real time versus trying to get an electronic form that we see later. What do you all think about that?
I like that.
I have no problem with it.
Okay,
Madam President?
yes.
I know we said they were gonna be giving a presentation. Is that the top two or top?
That would be the finalists. So it wouldn't be the five, it would be we have the superintendent search group that would be meeting with the finalists. So therefore, it doesn't have to be that they do a presentation, the candidates do a presentation. That's something that I think here again, having an opportunity to see their presentation skills and their ability to even respond to questions on the presentation, et cetera, or how they would handle things. That's what that provides an opportunity for that. If that's not something that the board desires, then we could do something different.
Trustee Gavin?
Yes, President Robinson, I do want that presentation.
Yeah.
And I do love the idea of utilizing a superintendent search committee, in that first round. It's the first round, right?
No.
No, it's the second round. The
Yeah.
second round is the superintendent search
Yes.
committee. And so I just want clarity. So President Robinson, you're saying a reception and then,
So the first part would be a reception. It wouldn't technically be the formal meeting. It would just be a reception open to the public so that they can mingle with that person. We can open up the official meeting and start with like a 10-minute presentation from both applicants, if you all would like that. And then we can go into our standard interview questions for each of those individuals. And then the public will have an opportunity to give us feedback.
okay, so I like all of that. And I still think that to have that superintendent search committee and to have their input, I think is vital because that's a very diverse group. And to give them that, that opportunity to interact and to give feedback, I think it makes our vote even more powerful when we have those voices at the table. I know it's an investment of time, but we're looking for somebody that's gonna be here for the long haul. And I think the more buy-in, community buy-in, the better we jumpstart.
So are you saying they have an additional meeting or are you saying you like it the way I'm presenting it?
I think Dr. Collins had a platform of like them. Can you share like how that could go merged with what President Robinson
Yes,
is?
they would be rotating. We did talk about, like a 10 or 15-minute presentation. You can choose the topic that they're to present on, or we can choose a topic for them to present on. But I think it's important that they're able to demonstrate that they know the district and that they have some ideas before they come in as to what could possibly be done. And then after that, there would be a Q&A where those who are in attendance have an opportunity to ask questions of the candidate. And so first regarding the presentation and then just general questions. And we stay within the same time frame for each of the candidates. So I know someone had mentioned the possibility of, I don't know how it would work with them being in the same room, presenting at the same time, or if there's a different space that they could be in this building. But I think that could definitely be done.
This is all gonna be next Saturday, right?
No, that would
No,
be the
this is-
24th.
Right, that would be the 24th.
Oh,
The finalists.
And that would just be a couple,
Okay, yeah, you're only talking
the
about
chair.
3 to 2 people.
Yes,
3 to
two,
1.
yes,
Yeah, 3 people at
2 to
least.
3, yes.
Okay. Mm.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes, I like what Dr. Collins is saying as well. And also, will the admin team be mixed in that? I did recall you saying
Yes.
something about that.
Yes.
So I have a list of the admin, those were admin, that work in admin positions from Ms. Singer that she sent me this week. So they would be included in that. They would be emailed as well with the work group. Okay, so we have time to iron that part out. As far as, so I do know we want the work group in. We'll standard plan to present, to start at 6 on the 24th.
Yes,
And you and I can line out what that actual public piece of it looks like.
Yes.
Okay.
definitely.
And we'll have a for certain update on that by next week, the 14th for everyone.
Yes,
That'll give us time to kind of work out the specifics and the logistics of OMA and things of that nature.
How early will we start on the 14th?
So at the 14th, we are starting as a board at 8 a.m. because we have a training to do. The actual interviews will start at 10. And I'm correct, Treasurer Bradley, you'll be present next week. So next week is one of our guaranteed days that he'll be here for us to do our partnership agreement training. So we're trying to squeeze that in the first 2 hours of the day, and then we'll go into our interviews. So as it stands right now, our timeline is June 14th, 2025. At 6:00 p.m., we'll have first round interviews for the 6 candidates noted. And then the 24th, which is a Tuesday, starting at 6:00 p.m., we'll have our round 2 interviews for our finalists. After that, we'll have a period of about 7 to 10 days of the deep dive background check. And then the following piece, once you get that feedback back on the
finalists.
the 2 finalists,
Yes.
then we'll have to come back and take a vote, correct?
Yes. The information from the company goes to the board president and the attorney. So those are the 2 individuals who receive that information. So that's how that's, usually set up. And then they will let you know if there was anything that was outstanding or something that's a concern when they come back to meet with the board. Okay,
Okay, and so just so the board is aware, we do already have a meeting on July the 8th. Which is that second Tuesday of July, and that looks like that would be about that 7 to 10 day window.
Mhm.
So we can anticipate July 8th being a date that the board takes a vote.
July 8th?
Yep. Of what? We'll have to select an interim
Okay.
to hold us over, because even after July 8th, you have to consider the time the person may need to give their job notice, as well as the time for contract negotiations.
And so if we could include that date on the calendar.
The July 8th
Yes.
date, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so just to run it through for the board as well, again, June 14th at 8 a.m., which is next week. We'll have board training for the partnership. Starting at 10 a.m., we'll have our interviews. Interviews will be 45 minutes to an hour with a 15-minute window in between. And then Tuesday, June 24th, we'll have our second round interviews. After that, we'll take 7 to 10 days to get our deep background checks. And then we'll plan to take our vote to finalize superintendent Tuesday, July 8th, 2025.
Now, you have the option of having HYA in attendance during those interviews or not.
We would like you present.
Okay, I will be here. I will be here. Definitely.
Is there anything else you need
That
from me?
is it. This has been great. Thank you so much for accomplishing so
So we're
much
gonna do the reception.
today.
So we are gonna definitely do a reception on the 24th. The only thing that we are going to outline is whether they'll be in a separate group or not. I just want to be certain as far as, because what they're doing with that work group is it is impacting the decision that we make, and it says interviews have to be in open session. I just want to make sure that if they're in a closed off room with that person and they're interviewing them and we're receiving that information, that won't be considered a closed meeting interview by a group that we delegated, if that makes sense. And sometimes I think too technical, but it's best to overthink than to not think and come back and somebody sue us because we violated a rule.
So I would just check with your
Yeah,
attorney.
so I'll double check that piece of it. All right, so this has been amazingly smooth. We appreciate you all. I think we've satisfied the questions that you have for me as well. So at this particular time, getting back to our agenda, we have satisfied the business at hand. We are now open for, public, hold on one second. I gotta get back to the right agenda. Mm-hmm.
I know you're tired of that drive back and forth, aren't you?
You know what? If it's for a good cause, and this is a good cause, then it
Yeah.
doesn't, I don't even think about it, I just do it. I do want to find out if there is a question that you want them to do the presentation on. So you can think about that and you can let us know on the 14th. So is there a particular area that you'd like for them to focus on? Because here again, we would want each of the presenters to present on the same things. Or if you want them to select what they feel, would be the best topic, just let me know. So give your ideas to the president and
Okay.
then we'll identify it when we come together on the 14th.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have, and again, I apologize to those who are on Zoom. Our agenda today was very brief as far as topics, so I apologize that I am not casting it to you currently, but I needed to be able to look at the candidates without showing you who they were within that time frame. So up next on the agenda, we have open public comment. Is there anyone present for open public comment? You have the floor. Do you need me to read the public comment statement for you, or you think you're okay? Okay.
Say something.
All right, it's kind of long. Let me get to it. Yeah, I can get it done in a minute.
Send your comments to the board, not to the audience. We listen, we don't respond. Okay, we read the statement, we can go.
Okay. One second.
I'm Iris Guidry. Again, it's been a pleasure working with Dr. Collins and you all getting to this point. And I wanted to say the professionalism, it means a lot to not just myself, but to this community that I dearly love. So I want to thank you all for a wonderful agenda and for allowing us to participate from the public. So again, I thank you and look forward to being a part of the remainder of this process. All right.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? All right, hearing none. Board member announcements and comments. Trustee Doyle.
I just want to give a big thanks out to HYA. They did an amazing job, and I'm really grateful that we tapped into that resource to look into a new superintendent. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I'd like to thank the community, because this is a big thing, and we are going to get the right person to move our district forward.
Thank
Thank
you. Trustee Gavin.
I want to thank everybody who has been a part of the process and special thanks to HYA and the board for coming together on this in this way. I am very excited about what's on the horizon for Benton Harbor area schools. We had a phenomenal in a volunteer capacity. I work with helping to make Peace Day something that's really powerful for our children, and working with Cindy Goodson, our community and family engagement coordinator, and the staff of Benton Harbor High School, and just there are other schools across the district who were celebrating Peace Day in their own way. And what I saw on Thursday, it was just really beautiful. Our students and community making a commitment for 90 days of peace. Does that mean that we're not going to ever have any problems? Absolutely not. But does it mean that we're working towards something better? I'm hoping that our district will look for ways to capitalize on that commitment, and look for ways to reward our students who are stepping into leadership, reward our staff who are looking for creative solutions to transform the culture and climate and build upon all the positive things that's happening. I just saw some really beautiful things. I saw multiracial support. I saw multi-generations of people, dancing together. It was just really beautiful. There were educational pieces, community reads. I'm excited about what's to come for Benton Harbor area schools, our engineering CTE classes, our robotics, our ESPN sports, our track team constantly going to state. Now we have a new track, like the sports, the athletic, the arts, the gospel choir that sang glory. I'm just excited about what's to come for Benton Harbor, and I'm hoping that we can continue to keep our staff intact, build upon that, and just take our district to the next level. So thank you for your time. And once again, thank you to Haya and our superintendent search committee and our board.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes, I'd like to also thank the HYA team for their work and for their dedication to our district and for the process, the smoothness of the process. I look forward to continue working with you until we finish this job. I also would like to say congratulations to our graduating class of 2025. It was a beautiful ceremony. And I also want to thank the maintenance guys, whoever did the field, it was beautiful. So thank you. And you know, just keep our community in mind. Summer's coming and people get kind of antsy with summer. So you know, we want to pray for our community and keep it up before the Lord so that we will have a peaceable summer. Um, and I look forward to whoever we choose, that they will continue the work that has been started in our district, the positive work that has been started in our district. And like Ms. Gavin said, that we'll keep moving forward and that, you know, all parties will be satisfied.
All right, up next, Treasurer Bradley.
I would like to say thank you to everyone who's listening in. If you were listening, thank you to our fellow board members. Thank you to HYA. You all have a safe trip back to your respective homes and areas. Also want to say, you know, sometimes we may not all agree on some things, but I'm glad that we were able to come to agreements on this. And then when you explain the rationale behind certain decisions and everything, I can get on board with that and work with you all. So I'm glad this process went well. I'm glad we were able to talk to each other and go and look into the system, do deep dives. And I look forward to working with you all in this process. And you all already know, you give me a call anytime. I'm just looking at miles and miles of highway. So every time. So if it's something an idea you want to push by me or just, you know, get wisdom or just talk to me about something, feel free to always reach out. And other than that, let's keep pushing and moving forward. Let's stand united, no matter what decision that we make. But we want to make sure we make the wise decision and the best decision so that we can keep on going in the right direction. The data is starting to come in. I know sometimes it usually is a process where people say, well, we want to see stuff right now, but everything is not a sprint. It's always a marathon. And right now, the marathon is starting to show the results. And so let's continue on that trajectory and making sure we pick that right person that's going to come in. That's what we're going to pray for. Also praying for a peaceful summer, and congratulations to the class of 2025. The graduation was awesome yesterday. The weather was beautiful. I was happy to see a lot of black gowns. You know, a lot of times you don't see too many black gowns, which means that's the young men. So that's a good thing to see a lot of young men graduating. So thank you. Thank you all. Have a good one.
You have the floor, Vice President Bowen.
You know, I want to say congratulations on a job well done to Trustee Gavin on the Peace Day walk. Congratulations to our graduates. You know, I'm thinking about 2018, and speaking of those years in past tense is kind of weird, but 2018, Benton Harbor was in the last quarter of the game. It was 30 seconds on the clock. And one of our students did was it a 3-point or 3-throw? However, I don't watch sports, but he did a 3-throw and everything. And we won the championship, and it was excitement and everything. We are at 30 seconds on the clock, and we're getting ready to select a superintendent. I am excited on where we're getting ready to go. I'm excited on the candidates. They have impressive resumes. And I believe this one is going to be a win-win for the community of Benton Harbor and Benton Harbor area schools. One thing that I liked what I heard was when you guys were reading some of the candidates, you said they are about the students, student first. And that's what we're here for. I do believe that we cannot focus on battles of the past or what Benton Harbor was, but we must focus on what Benton Harbor can be. because so many times we're focused on going back, but we must move forward. And that's the path that we're going to be doing these next few weeks. Madam President, I would encourage you to start getting your calendar ready to do a meet and greet, going to the churches, getting these AKAs, the alphas, the deltas, all of these sororities, fraternities and social support groups, because it's going to take a village mentality. And as of right now, we've been at war with each other, but as you can see, I'm here for peace. And our babies are the ones that are suffering. And we must come together. And with us getting this new superintendent, we got to go back when I forgot the former superintendent. He was in the community on Saturdays. They had education. We have to do this. It's our babies. These are Black and brown babies that are struggling in this community. And we deserve better. They deserve better. And I am excited about where we're getting ready to head and selecting this candidate. So thank you. And I am so glad that we, have turned the page on this board. We learned to attack the problem and not the person. And we understand democracy may not always agree, but we respect and have those conversations. So thank you.
All right, so thank you all, everyone. I would like to thank HYA for your work that you've done to support Benton Harbor area schools, as well as your patience in reaching me. Today has come together great. I'm extremely proud of this board that we were able to get through this very quickly, without much disagreement. It kind of shows a level of unity that is impressive. And so I'm excited about what's to come as we go through our selection of candidates. Really wishing everyone that was named in that candidate pool of 6 the best. And I'm hoping you're able to bring your A game to Benton Harbor area schools in our upcoming interviews. So with that, just a reminder to everyone to please send me your interview questions that will be used next Saturday by this upcoming Wednesday. Thank you to Vice President Bowens for already sending his. I've created a document and shared that with HYA, so I'll be updating them real time. So I plan to see you all next week, the 14th at 8 a.m. for training and then for our first round interviews. So with that being said, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by VP Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Oh, and the only other thing, just, I know I've said it briefly, but just to make sure, we'll have to designate our interim before the public, because we are gonna run past that July timeframe. So I would like us to start thinking about making that selection public, and at least having that, try to have that discussion, or may have it before the public next week, the 14th. So with nothing additional, Trustee Gavin, can you call the vote?
Did have a quick comment. I just want to send a super shout out to Candace Caldwell, the fashion design teacher, did an amazing African fashion show that should be like on the runways all over the world. I'm just saying. Okay, and I'm ready to call roll. President Robinson, that's good.
Go ahead.
Okay, President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary, Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin, yes.
All right, meeting is adjourned as of 12:41 p.m.